Did you like the tequila, Dad? That was the question my son Michael asked me over the phone 3 hours after giving it to me for my birthday. And my answer left him dead silent. I gave it to your father-in-law, son. He loved it. My name is Aurelio Miller. I'm 73 years old, and my whole life I worked as a welder at Gonzalez Metallurgy here in Pittsburgh. For 40 years, my hands held the welding torch that built structures, tanks, heavy machinery that was exported all the way to the United States. These hands that now tremble a little with age were once the steadiest in the entire factory. Today is my birthday. 73 years old, and I'm sitting in the living room of my little house waiting for that son who no longer sees me as his father, but as a burden. The morning broke gray, as if the sky knew something bad was about to happen. I got up early as always at 5 in the morning. It's a habit you don't shake after 4 decades of waking up before dawn to get to the factory. I made my coffee black and bitter just how I like it, and sat on the patio to watch the sun rise behind the mountains. My house is small, but it's mine. I bought it with the sweat of years of work, dollar by dollar. 2 bedrooms, a modest living room, a kitchen that always smells of chili and freshly made cornbread, and this patio where I have my tomato plants and the flower pots my late wife Susan planted before she passed. Michael had told me he'd stop by in the morning. Dad, I'm coming by early to celebrate. I have a surprise you're going to love. His voice sounded different on the phone, like when he was a kid and had done something mischievous but was trying to sound innocent. At 9 o'clock sharp, I heard his truck pull up outside. A new white Toyota which he bought last year when he started making better money with his accounting business. Michael was always smart with numbers, but lately he'd become smart about other things too. Things I didn't like. He knocked on the door 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. Just like he always had since he was a child. Dad, happy birthday. I opened the door, and there he was. Michael, my firstborn. 42 years old, well-dressed in a sky blue shirt I gave him for Christmas. Dark jeans, polished shoes. He was smiling, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. He was carrying a bag in his hand. Look what I brought you, he said, pulling a bottle of tequila from the bag. It was an elegant bottle with a gold label, one of those expensive ones you see in stores but never buy. It's Herradura Añejo Dad, the best tequila in Pennsylvania, for the best dad in Pennsylvania. He hugged me. A quick, awkward hug like when you're in a hurry to get somewhere else. Thanks, son, I said, taking the bottle. It was heavy cold, and the label shone in the morning light. It's very nice, but you know I don't drink much anymore. Oh, Dad, it's your birthday. One little sip won't hurt you. Besides this, tequila is special. I had it brought in especially for you. Something in the way he said special made me feel strange, like when you're welding and you suddenly feel your mask isn't on right. A sense of danger you can't explain. Want to open the bottle now? He asked, looking toward the kitchen. No, son, it's too early to drink. Better save it for lunch. I saw his face change for a second, an expression of disappointment. Disappointment. Anger. It was very fast, but I saw it. Okay, Dad, whatever you say. Then he added, Are you going to be alone today? Is no one else coming? Rose is coming this afternoon, and Jacob said he'd stop by after work. Why? No reason, just asking. He settled onto the sofa, but looked restless as if he was in a hurry. Dad, I need to ask you something. Go on. Have you made your will yet? The question hit me like a bucket of cold water. Not because it was strange to talk about such things at my age, but because of the way he asked. Direct without preamble, as if he had been waiting for the moment to bring it up. Why are you asking me that on my birthday, Michael? Well, Patricia and I are thinking of getting married soon, and you know you have to plan for the future. She says it's important for families to have everything in order. Patricia, his girlfriend of 8 months. A pretty woman, a nurse at the public hospital, but she always looked at me as if she were calculating something, as if I were a problem that needed solving. My will is in order, I told him. Everything is divided equally among you three. The house, my savings, everything. And how much have you saved, Dad? I mean, just to know if it's enough for your expenses. That's when I understood something was very wrong. Michael had never asked about my money so directly. He had always been respectful about those things. I have enough to live comfortably, Michael. Don't you worry about that. He was quiet for a moment, looking at the tequila bottle I had placed on the coffee table. You know what, Dad? We should open it. A quick toast for your birthday. I'm already here after all. Again, that strange insistence, as if it were very important to him that I drink from that bottle. Michael, it's 9:30 in the morning. Oh, Dad, it's your birthday. Besides, you're not getting any younger. We have to seize every moment, don't you think? The way he said, "You're not getting any younger," sounded odd, like a threat disguised as a joke. I got up and went to the kitchen for 2 shot glasses. As I took them from the cabinet, I felt his eyes following my every move. When I returned, he already had the bottle open. I'll pour, Dad. You sit down and relax. He poured 2 shots, mine a little fuller than his. Cheers, Dad, to many more years. We raised our glasses. I was about to drink when I heard a knock at the door. Are you expecting someone? Michael asked with a face I couldn't read. No, I replied, putting the glass down on the table. I'll see who it is. It was Mr. Frank, Patricia's father, an older man my age who worked as a mechanic in a shop near the market. Mr. Miller, happy birthday. I'm here on behalf of my daughter, Patricia. She sent me to bring you this cake for your party. Mr. Frank was a good man. I had always liked him since I met him a few months ago. How kind. Please come in, Mr. Frank. Michael is here. When we entered the living room, I saw Michael's face. He had turned pale as if he'd seen a ghost. Hello, Michael, Mr. Frank greeted him. Hello, sir, Michael answered in a strange voice. Look, Mr. Frank, I said. Michael brought me this bottle of tequila. Would you like a drink? And that's where everything changed. Mr. Frank saw the bottle and smiled. Wow, Herradura Añejo. That's the good stuff. I wouldn't mind a little shot. Michael shot up from his seat. No, that bottle is special, Dad. I brought it especially for you. But I was already pouring a glass for Mr. Frank. I don't know why I did it. Something inside me told me I had to. After I told Michael that the silence on the phone was so long, I thought the call had dropped. When he finally spoke, his voice sounded different, as if something inside him had broken. What did you say, Dad? I gave the tequila to Mr. Frank. I repeated, not understanding why he sounded so upset. He came in the morning to wish me a happy birthday, and well, you know it's good manners to share such a nice gift. No, Michael muttered. Did he drink it already? Of course, son. We had a few shots together. That tequila you gave me is really good. Mr. Frank even said he'd never had one so smooth. What followed was something I will never forget. Michael started screaming like a desperate madman. They weren't words. It was like the howl of a wounded animal, as if something had been ripped out from inside him. No, Dad, no. How much did he drink? How much? His scream was so loud, I had to pull the phone away from my ear. Michael, what's wrong with you? Are you crazy? Why are you screaming like that? Answer me, how much did Mr. Frank drink? His desperation was so real, so raw. that a horrible feeling started to churn in my stomach, like when you're welding and suddenly the metal cracks and you know something is wrong, very wrong. He drank about 3 shots, Michael. Why? What's in that tequila? Another silence, but this one was different. It was the silence of someone who has just realized that everything has gone to hell. Dad, What Michael spit it out. And then he hung up. The bastard hung up on me. I stood there in the kitchen, phone in hand, trying to understand what the hell had just happened. My son, who had arrived that morning smiling with his birthday gift, had just had a panic attack because I told him I shared his tequila with Mr. Frank. The bottle was there on the table, half empty, elegant golden, with that shimmering label, but now I was afraid to look at it. I dialed Mr. Frank's number. I had to be sure he was okay. Hello, Mr. Frank, it's Aurelio. How are you feeling? Are you all right? Oh, Mr. Miller, to be honest, I feel a bit sick. My stomach has been upset since I left your house. I thought it was because I ate something heavy for breakfast, but now that you ask, my blood runs cold. What exactly are you feeling, Mr. Frank? Nausea, dizziness, like I have a fever, and my head hurts a lot. My daughter Patricia is giving me some peppermint tea, but it's not helping. Mr. Frank, where are you now? At my house, why? Listen to me carefully. Go to the hospital right now. Have Patricia take you to the public hospital. Tell them it could be poisoning. Poisoning. What are you talking about, Mr. Miller? I'll explain later. Go to the hospital now, don't waste any time. I hung up and sat down in a kitchen chair. My hands were shaking, but not from age, from rage, from a fury that was rising from my stomach to my throat. My son. My own son had tried to poison me. And the worst part was I understood why. The questions about the will, about my savings, about whether I'd be alone. The rush to get me to drink the tequila. The look of panic when Mr. Frank arrived. It all made sense now. Michael wanted to kill me. His own father. I got up and went to the bathroom. I looked at myself in the mirror. 73 years old, but still strong, still with the will to fight. And now I had a war on my hands. I went back to the kitchen and grabbed the tequila bottle. I smelled it. It didn't smell like anything strange, but that didn't mean anything. There are poisons that have no smell, that have no taste. The phone rang. It was Michael again. Dad, tell me. How are you feeling? Fine. Why shouldn't I feel fine, Michael? No, for no reason. I just wanted to know if you need anything. What I need, I said slowly, is for you to explain why you went crazy when I told you I gave the tequila to Mr. Frank. I didn't go crazy, Dad. I was just surprised, that's all. Michael, I'm not an idiot. Something is wrong with that tequila. Something bad. Don't be ridiculous, Dad. You're imagining things. Imagining Mr. Frank is sick. He's been feeling ill since he drank your tequila, and you went crazy when I told you. Another long silence. Dad, I'd better come over. We need to talk. No, I said. You are not coming to my house. I'm coming to yours. What for? So you can explain to me what the hell you put in that tequila you gave me for my birthday. And I hung up. I changed my clothes. I put on my good pants, my white shirt, my work boots. If I was going to confront my son, I was going to be dressed as the man I am. Before leaving, I called Rose. Dad, how are you? Has Michael arrived yet? Rose, I need you to come to my house right now. Something very serious is happening. What happened? Not over the phone. Come and bring Jacob with you. Dad, you're scaring me. You should be scared, sweetheart. Your brother Michael just tried to kill me. Rose's silence was different from Michael's. It was the silence of someone trying to process something impossible to believe. What did you say? You heard me. Michael brought me a bottle of poisoned tequila for my birthday. Thank God I gave it to Mr. Frank and didn't drink it myself. Dad, that can't be true. In an hour I'll prove to you it's true. Come to the house and Rose. Yes. Bring your phone's camera. We're going to need proof of what's about to happen. I hung up. I grabbed the keys to my old truck and headed for Michael's house. It was time for my son and me to have a very serious conversation. A conversation that was going to change everything forever. Michael's house was in a new neighborhood, one of those where all the houses look the same and have perfect little lawns. When I arrived, I saw his Toyota truck in the driveway, but there was also another car I didn't recognize. An old white Nissan with Pennsylvania plates. I parked my truck in front of his house and sat there for a moment, taking a deep breath. 42 years. That bastard had lived for 42 years, and I had worked every single day of those 42 years to give him the best so he could get an education, have clean clothes, new shoes, school supplies, so he could be someone in life. And this is how he repaid me, by trying to kill me. I knocked on the door. Hard. 3 sharp knocks that echoed down the block. Michael opened the door, but he wasn't the same man who had come to my house in the morning. His face was a wreck, his eyes were red, and his hands were shaking. Dad. Get out of the way, I said, pushing him gently but firmly. We're going to talk inside. I walked into his living room. It was nice with new furniture, a big TV, everything very tidy. The furniture he had bought with the money he earned as an accountant. An honest job that I had paid for with my sweat. But there, sitting on the sofa, was her. Patricia, the nurse, the girlfriend, the accomplice, and next to her a man I didn't know, skinny, dark-haired with a mousy face. He had a medical bag at his feet. Good afternoon, I said, looking at Patricia first, then at the stranger. Who are you people in this story? Patricia looked pale, nervous. She jumped up from the sofa as if on springs. Mr. Miller, We. Sit down, I told her. You're going to listen to what I have to say, too. The skinny man extended his hand. A pleasure. I'm Dr. Ramirez. I'm a friend of Patricia's. I didn't shake his hand. Doctor of what general practitioner? I work in a private clinic. That's when I understood the whole plan. Michael, Patricia, the nurse, and this doctor. The 3 of them together. A perfect conspiracy to kill a burdensome old man. Michael, I said without taking my eyes off the doctor. Explain to me what the hell you put in that tequila. Michael sat in a chair far away from me, as if he were afraid I was going to hit him. And maybe he was right to be afraid. Dad, I can explain everything. Then explain. I have all the time in the world. Michael looked at Patricia, then at the doctor, then at me. It was just to make you fall asleep, Dad. Nothing more. To make me fall asleep, yes. So you would fall into a deep sleep and what, Michael? The doctor cleared his throat. Mr. Miller, allow me to explain. What your son put in the tequila was a very strong sedative, sodium pentobarbital. In small doses, it causes deep sleep. In high doses, it kills. I finished. Exactly. I moved closer to the doctor until I was standing in front of him. Very close. And how much did you put in my tequila, doctor? The doctor swallowed hard. The dose we put in. It was lethal, Mr. Miller. Patricia started to cry. Fake crocodile tears. Mr. Miller, we didn't want to hurt you. It was just that I was a burden, that you wanted my money, that you were in a hurry for me to die so you could inherit. Michael shot up from his seat. It wasn't for the money, Dad. Oh no, then why? Because you don't have a good quality of life anymore. You live alone. You've been sad since Mom died. You don't do anything productive anymore. I slapped him so hard it echoed through the house. A sharp, hard slap, the kind that leaves a mark. Michael touched his cheek, stunned. I decide when my life has no quality, you asshole. I decide when I want to die. Not you. Patricia kept crying. Mr. Miller, please understand. Michael told me you were suffering a lot, that you were depressed, that you sometimes said you wanted to die. When did I say that, Michael? When Michael didn't answer. He couldn't answer because it was a lie. And even if I had said it, I continued, that doesn't give you the right to kill me. If I want to die, I'll kill myself. I don't need my son to help me. The doctor opened his bag and took out a small vial. Look, Mr. Miller, this is the vial of pentobarbital we used. It's almost empty. We put 15 milliliters in the tequila. That dose would have caused respiratory arrest in less than 2 hours. I snatched the vial from his hands. And Mr. Frank, is he going to have a respiratory arrest too? Well, he only drank 3 shots. He'll probably feel very sick. He'll have nausea, dizziness, maybe mild convulsions. But if they get him to the hospital in time, he's already at the hospital. I interrupted them. And when the doctors run tests, they're going to find pentobarbital in his blood. And they're going to ask questions. And they're going to call the police. The 3 of them fell silent, as if they hadn't considered that possibility. Idiots. They wanted to kill me, and they hadn't even thought about the consequences. Do you know what hurts the most? I said, pacing the living room like a caged lion. It's not that you wanted to kill me, that I can almost understand. There are some real bastards in this world. I stopped in front of Michael. What hurts is that it was you, my son. The boy I taught to ride a bike. The boy who cried when he got hurt, and I cleaned his cuts with alcohol and cotton. The boy who told me when I grow up, I want to be like you, Dad. Michael started to cry, but I felt no pity for him anymore. The boy I supported when he didn't. Have a job. The one I paid for college for by selling my work tools. The one I lent money to so he could start his business. Patricia tried to speak. Mr. Miller, we shut up, I yelled. You have nothing to say here. You are not family. You're just a damn gold digger who convinced my son to kill me. I sat down in front of them. Now you're going to explain the whole plan to me. From the beginning. How were you going to explain my death? What were you going to say when they found me dead? The doctor spoke with a trembling voice. We were going to say that you had drunk the whole bottle of tequila, that it had been an accident, a drinking binge that got out of control. And where were you going to be when that happened? Michael was going to come visit you at night. He was going to find you already dead. And after my funeral, what? You were going to get married with my money. Michael nodded, crying. We had debts. Dad, the business isn't doing well. Patricia has to support her dad. You needed me dead. Yes. And Rose and Jacob, were you going to kill them too? No. just you. They were going to inherit their share. I stood up and walked to the door. Where are you going, Dad? To call the police. The three of them jumped to their feet, scared. Dad, no. We're family. I turned to Michael one last time. No, Michael. We are not family anymore. Sons don't kill their fathers, and fathers don't forgive sons who try to kill them. I walked out of the house and toward my truck. Behind me, I heard Patricia screaming the doctor, talking about how they had to run Michael, crying like a child. But I had already made my decision. This was not going to end like this. When I got to my house, Rose and Jacob were already there waiting for me. I saw them from a distance sitting in the patio chairs, talking in low voices. Rose looked worried, and Jacob looked confused, as if he didn't understand why I had summoned them so urgently. When I got out of the truck, they both stood up and came towards me. Dad. What's going on? Rose asked. You really worried us with that call. Sit down, I said, pointing to the patio table. What I'm about to tell you, you're not going to believe, but it's the absolute truth. Jacob looked at me with those eyes he's had since he was a kid, when he knew something was wrong. Where's Michael? You said he was going to be here too. Michael isn't coming. Michael is the problem. I put the bottle of tequila on the table. Rose looked at it strangely. It's very pretty. Did Michael give it to you? Yes, he gave it to me. But not to celebrate my birthday. He gave it to me to kill me. The silence that followed was so heavy you could cut it with a knife. Rose and Jacob. They looked at each other, then they looked at me as if expecting me to say it was a joke. Dad, Jacob said slowly. What are you saying? I'm saying that your brother Michael, along with his girlfriend Patricia and a doctor named Ramirez, put poison in this tequila to kill me. Sodium pentobarbital, they call it. A dose that would have killed me in 2 hours. Rose covered her mouth with her hands. That can't be true, Dad. Michael would never do something like that. Michael would not only do something like that, but he already did it. The only thing that saved him from being a murderer is that I gave the tequila to Mr. Frank instead of drinking it. Me, Mr. Frank drank it, Jacob asked, alarmed. 3 shots. And now he's in the hospital because he felt sick. When they do the tests, they'll find the poison in his blood. Rose started to cry. Not the fake crying of Patricia, but the real tears of a daughter who has just discovered her older brother is a criminal. But why? Why would Michael do something like that? For money? For the inheritance? Because he has debts and thinks I'm useless now. Jacob grabbed the bottle and smelled it. And how do you know it has poison? Because I went to his house to confront him. And he, Patricia, and the doctor confessed everything. They told me they put 15 milliliters of pentobarbital. They told me it was a lethal dose. They told me the plan was for Michael to find me dead in the evening and for them to say it was an accident. Rose was crying harder now. I can't believe it. Michael was always the most responsible of the 3 of us. The one who helped you the most. That Michael doesn't exist anymore, sweetie. The Michael we knew died when he decided to kill me. Jacob stood up and started pacing like he always does when he's very angry. So what are we going to do? Did you call the police yet? Not yet. No. I wanted to talk to you guys first. I wanted you to know the truth before this becomes a scandal. He has to go to jail, Jacob said, stopping in front of me. Dad. Michael tried to kill you. That's attempted murder. It can't be left like this. Rose stopped crying for a moment. But he's our brother Jacob. No, I answered. He's not our brother anymore. Brothers don't kill each other. Sons don't kill their fathers. But are you sure, Dad? Rose insisted. Are you completely sure Michael wanted to kill you? I took out my phone and played them the audio of when Michael had screamed desperately after I told him I had given the tequila to Mr. Frank. The screams, the desperation, the panic in his voice. When the audio finished, Rose was silent. "That's not the scream of someone worried about their dad," she murmured. "That's the scream of someone who knows their plan is ruined." Exactly. And when I went to his house, he confirmed it. In great detail. Jacob sat down again. And Patricia was involved too. Patricia was the one who got the poison. She's a nurse. She has access to drugs. And Dr. Ramirez was the one who told them what dose to use. "Sons of bitches," Jacob muttered. "Sorry, Dad, but I don't have any other words. There's nothing to forgive, son. I'm thinking much worse things." Rose took my hand. "Dad, what are we going to do?" "What we have to do, call the police, file a report, and let justice take its course." "But are you prepared for that?" Jacob asked. "To report your own son, to watch him get taken away in handcuffs, to go to trials, to testify against him." I thought for a moment. It was a good question. Was I prepared to see Michael in prison? Was I prepared for all of Pittsburgh to know that my son had tried to kill me? Yes. I said finally. I'm prepared. Because if I don't do it, Michael will try to kill me again. And next time I might not be so lucky. Rose nodded. You're right, Dad. If he's capable of doing this once, he's capable of doing it again. Besides, I added, Mr. Frank is in the hospital because of Michael. That man could have died from drinking my poisoned tequila. And even if he recovers, he's going to have long-term effects. The doctors told me that pentobarbital can cause neurological damage. Have you spoken to Mr. Frank? Jacob asked. I spoke with him before going to Michael's house. He was in bad shape. His daughter took him to the public hospital. When the doctors test him and find the poison, they'll file a report, and they'll investigate where that poison came from. What if Michael runs? Rose asked. He won't run. He's too much of a coward to run. Besides, where would he go? He doesn't have enough money. That's why he wanted to kill me. Jacob stood up again. Well then, let's go. Let's go to the police right now. Wait, I said. Before we go, I need you to help me with something. What? I need Rose to record everything I'm about to say, a full testimony, from beginning to end, just in case something happens to me. Rose looked at me frightened. Why are you saying that, Dad? Because Michael already tried to kill me once, and people like him, when they feel cornered, can do anything. Do you think he'll hurt you? I don't know, but it's better to be prepared. Rose took out her phone. Okay, Dad. I'll record everything. And Jacob, I continued, I want you to take this bottle to a forensic lab. Have them analyze exactly what's in it. We need scientific proof. But isn't the police supposed to do that? Yes. But I want to have my own proof, just in case. Rose already had her phone ready. Should I start recording? Yes, but first let me tell you something else. I looked at both of them. My two children. Good ones. The ones who had never given me any trouble. The ones who had always respected me. The ones who had never thought of hurting me. No matter what happens with Michael. You will always be my children, and you will inherit everything I have, as was always the plan. Dad, don't talk about that right now, Rose said. We have to talk about it, because Michael isn't going to inherit anything anymore. A son who tries to kill his father doesn't deserve any inheritance. Have you changed the will yet? Jacob asked. I'm going to change it tomorrow. Today we file the report. Tomorrow I'll take care of the legal papers. Okay, Dad, Rose said. Whatever you decide. Now start recording, because this is going to be a very long war, and we're going to need all the evidence we can get. The police station smelled of cheap coffee and cigarettes. It was an old building with walls yellowed by time and ceiling fans that made more noise than breeze. When we walked in, Rose, Jacob, and I, the officer at the desk, looked at us like we were three crazy people coming to report that aliens had stolen our television. How can I help you? Asked the officer, a young guy who couldn't have been more than 25. I'm here to file a report for attempted murder, I said, placing the tequila bottle on his desk. The young man straightened up in his chair. Attempted murder against whom? Against me. My son tried to kill me with this poisoned bottle. Okay, slow down. Sit down and tell me everything from the beginning. We sat in uncomfortable plastic chairs. I told him the whole story from Michael's arrival in the morning to the confrontation at his house. The officer took notes on a yellow legal pad, stopping every so often to ask for details. And do you have proof that the tequila is poisoned? He asked. Mr. Frank Vasquez is admitted to the public hospital. He drank 3 shots of this tequila and got very sick. The doctors are going to run tests. And where is your son now? At his house in the Gardenside neighborhood, Jacaranda Street. The officer wrote down the address. Is he armed? Not that I know of. He's an accountant, not a criminal. Well, he wasn't a criminal until today. All right, I'm going to call the commander to take your formal statement. The commander was an older man with a gray mustache and a no-nonsense face. His name was Rodriguez, and he had known my brother when he worked at the metallurgy plant. Aurelio Miller, Raul Miller's brother, the same commander. Your brother was a good man. We worked together years ago on a theft case at the factory. He settled into his chair and looked at me seriously. Tell me what happened. I repeated the whole story again, this time with more details. I showed him the bottle. I played him the audio of Michael. Screaming, I gave him the address of the house where he was. And are you sure you want to proceed with this? The commander asked me. He's your son. Once we file the report, there's no going back. Commander, my son tried to kill me. If I don't file the report, what message am I sending him that he can try again? You're right. Officer Hernandez, go get Michael Miller. Take a patrol car and 2 more officers. He might be desperate. Are you going to arrest him? Rose asked. First, we're going to bring him in for questioning. If he confesses, we'll arrest him. If he doesn't confess, we'll wait for the lab results. How long do those results take? Jacob asked. Depends. If it's urgent, 2 days. If it's not urgent, a week. It's urgent, I said. There's a man in the hospital because of this. The commander nodded. I'm going to call the public hospital to confirm Mr. Frank's admission. While the commander made the call, an officer took us to a small room to take our formal statements. I gave my statement first, then Rose, then Jacob. Everything was written down on official paper with stamps and signatures. When we finished, 3 hours had already passed. The commander returned with a serious face. Aurelio, I spoke with the doctor attending to Mr. Frank. He confirms he arrived with symptoms of poisoning. They've already drawn blood for analysis. How is he? Stable but in serious condition. His nervous system is affected. The doctor says it was a very high dose of some sedative. A lump formed in my throat. Mr. Frank was a good man, hard-working, honest. And now he was in the hospital because of my son. And Michael. Have they brought him in yet? That's the problem. When they got to his house, he wasn't there. Neighbors say they saw his truck leave around 6 in the evening very fast. He fled. It seems so, but we already have his description and his truck's license plate. He won't get far. Rose grabbed my arm. Dad, if Michael fled, it's because he knows he did something wrong. Of course he knows. That's why he fled. The commander sat down in front of us. Aurelio, this changes everything. It's no longer just attempted murder. Now it's also flight. This is going to get more serious. What does that mean? It means that when we catch him, he won't get out on bail easily. A judge won't grant parole to someone who has already fled once. Good, Jacob said. That way he can't try to hurt Dad again. And Patricia and the doctor? I asked. I've already sent a patrol car for them too. We'll find Patricia at her house or at the hospital where she works. We're looking for the doctor at the clinic where he works. Just then, Officer Hernandez came in, sweating and agitated. Commander, we found Patricia Vasquez at her house. She's outside in the patrol car. And the doctor? He's not at the clinic. His colleagues say he left early and didn't come back. Another one who fled. Bring Patricia in. 5 minutes later, they brought Patricia in handcuffed. She looked pale, scared, and had been crying. When she saw me, she lowered her gaze. Patricia Vasquez, the commander said, you are accused of conspiracy to commit attempted murder. You have the right to remain silent and to have an attorney. I didn't want to do anything wrong, Patricia mumbled. Then why did you do it? I asked her. Patricia looked at me with teary eyes. Mr. Miller Michael told me you were suffering a lot, that you wanted to die, that it was an act of love to help you. Liar, Rose shouted at her. My dad never said he wanted to die. It's true, Patricia insisted. Michael told me many times that you cried for his wife, that you didn't eat well, that you were depressed. Even if that were true, the commander intervened. That doesn't justify poisoning him. If a sick person wants to die, they kill themselves. They don't need help. And where is Michael? I asked Patricia. I don't know. When you left the house, Michael went crazy. He said we had to run, that they were going to put us in jail. I told him no, that we should face the consequences. But he grabbed his suitcase and left. Where did he go? He didn't tell me. He just said he had to disappear for a while. The commander looked at her intently. Patricia, if you cooperate with us, the judge will take that into account. If you tell us where Michael might be, things could be easier for you. Patricia was silent for a moment, thinking. Michael has a cousin in San Diego. His name is Robert, but they call him Rob. He lives in the Liberty neighborhood. Michael always said that if he ever got into trouble, he would go to Rob's. Do you have the exact address? No. But I know he works at a mechanic shop called The Warrior. It's on Revolution Avenue. The commander wrote everything in his notebook. Officer Hernandez, contact the San Diego police. Have them look for Michael Miller in that area. And what happens to me? Patricia asked. You're under arrest. We'll present you before the judge tomorrow. When they took Patricia away in handcuffs, I sat there watching all the activity in the station. Cops coming and going, phones ringing, typewriters clattering. All because of my son. Dad, Rose said to me, let's go home. We've done what we had to do. Yeah, Jacob added. We'll continue with this tomorrow. I got up from my chair. Commander, will you let me know when you find Michael? Of course, Aurelio. And don't worry, we'll find him. Fugitives always make mistakes. When we left the station, it was already night. Pittsburgh looked different, as if it had changed during the hours we spent inside. Or maybe it was me who had changed. I was no longer the same man who had woken up that morning expecting a birthday wish. Now I was a man who had reported his own son for attempted murder. 2 days later, Commander Rodriguez called me early in the morning. His voice sounded serious, official, like when he has to deliver important news. "Aurelio, they've brought Michael back from San Diego. He's here at the station. Do you want to come see him?" I was silent for a moment with the phone in my hand. Did I want to see him? Part of me was curious to see what his face looked like now, after being arrested like a common criminal. Another part of me never wanted to see him again in my life. "Yes, Commander, I'll be right there." "Come alone, Aurelio. It's better." When I arrived at the station, the atmosphere was different from the other day. There was more activity, more cops, more prisoners. The commander was waiting for me in his office with a grave face. "How is he?" I asked, although I wasn't sure if I cared about the answer. "Bad, very bad. He hasn't eaten since they brought him in. He hasn't slept. He just keeps crying and saying he wants to talk to you." "With me, what for?" "I don't know. He says he has important things to tell you." I sat in the chair in front of the commander's desk. "And Dr. Ramirez?" "That one did talk. He told us everything. How Patricia got the pentobarbital from the hospital where she works, how Michael contacted him to ask about lethal doses, how they planned the whole operation for weeks." "Weeks?" "Yes, Aurelio. This wasn't something they came up with overnight. They planned it for over a month." That hurt more than anything else I had heard. Michael hadn't acted on impulse out of desperation in a moment of madness. He had planned my death for weeks. He had thought about killing me every day for a whole month. And what else did the doctor say? That Michael's original idea was to make it look like you had a heart attack in your sleep. But Patricia told him it was too risky, that the coroners might find evidence. So they decided to use poisoning with alcohol to make it look like an accident. And how much money did they expect to get from this? According to the doctor, Michael told him you had about $200,000 in savings, plus the value of your house, which divided among the 3 children. He would inherit about $150,000. $150,000. He was going to kill me for that. Apparently, Michael has very large debts. He owes money to a lot of people. His business has been bankrupt for months. Why didn't he ever ask me for help? If he needed money, I would have lent it to him. Because that way, he wouldn't get all the money, just a part. And besides, according to the doctor, Patricia convinced him it was better to solve the problem at the root. I fell silent, processing all this information. My son had calculated my death like a business transaction. He had put a price on my life. $150,000. "Do you want to see him?" the commander asked me. "Yes. I want to hear what he has to say." "All right. But we'll have to do it in the interrogation room with an officer present." "No problem." The commander called an officer and led me down a long hallway to a small room with gray walls and a metal table in the center. "Wait here. We'll bring him in 5 minutes." I sat in an uncomfortable chair and waited. My heart was beating fast, not from nerves, but from anger. I had a lot of things to say to Michael, a lot of questions to ask him. When they opened the door, I almost didn't recognize him. Michael had aged 10 years in 3 days. He had a grown-out beard, deep dark circles under his eyes, wrinkled clothes, and he walked as if his whole body was heavy. He came in handcuffed, accompanied by 2 officers. "Dad," he murmured when he saw me and started to cry. "Sit down," I said, without emotion in my voice. He sat across from me, still crying. The officers stood by the door. "Dad, I don't know how to explain." "Don't explain anything, Michael. Just answer my questions." "Okay." First question, why? "Why? Because I have a lot of debts, Dad. The business is bankrupt. I owe money to a lot of people. How much do you owe? $250,000. And that's why you were going to kill me. Michael kept crying. It wasn't just for that, Dad. Patricia told me you weren't happy anymore, that you were suffering a lot since Mom died, that it was an act of love to help you rest. Lies, I shouted, standing up from my chair. That's a damn lie. I never told you I wanted to die, but I saw you were sad, Dad. All old people are sad, Michael. That doesn't mean they want to die. I sat back down, taking a deep breath to control myself. Second question, how long did you plan it? About 6 weeks. 6 weeks thinking about how to kill me. Yes. And in those 6 weeks, it never occurred to you to talk to me, to ask for help, to tell me you had problems. Yes, it occurred to me, but Patricia said you wouldn't understand, that you would think I'm a failure. Michael, I worked 40 years as a welder. Do you think I don't understand what debts are, money problems? But there were a lot of debts, Dad. I don't care how many there were. We could have solved them together, but you preferred to kill me. Michael cried harder now. Forgive me, Dad. Please forgive me. I'm not going to forgive you, Michael, and I'll tell you why. I stood up and walked around the table until I was standing behind him. I'm not going to forgive you because Mr. Frank is in the hospital. Because of you. He's going to have lifelong health problems because of you. I didn't want Mr. Frank to. I don't care what you wanted. What matters is what you did. I returned to my chair. I'm not going to forgive you because when I confronted you at your house, you showed no remorse. Only panic because you had been caught. I was sorry, Dad. No, Michael. Remorse is when you recognize you did something wrong and want to repair the damage. Panic is when you're only worried about being punished. You're right. And above all, I'm not going to forgive you because when you had the chance to face what you had done like a man, you chose to run away like a coward. Michael remained silent. Do you know what hurts me the most about all this, Michael? What? That for 42 years I believed you were my son. That I had raised a good, hard-working, honest man. That my job as a father had been worthwhile. I am your son, Dad. No, you are not my son. My son would never have done this to me. My son would have asked for help before trying to kill me. My son would have faced his mistakes like a man. He wouldn't have fled like a thief. Dad, please. The person sitting in front of me is a stranger, a criminal, a coward, but he's not my son. Michael stood up, desperate. Dad, I'm your son. I'm Michael, the one who helped you in the workshop when I was a kid, the one who played soccer with you in the yard. That boy is dead, Michael. You killed him when you decided to poison me. Don't say that. It's the truth. And here's the proof. When I was a kid and did something wrong, my dad would punish me. But then he would forgive me because he knew I had learned my lesson. But you're not my child. You're an adult criminal who knew perfectly well what he was doing. And criminals don't go to their dad when they have problems. They go to jail. Michael slumped into his chair, defeated. What's going to happen to me, Dad? I don't know, Michael. And it's not my problem anymore. Are you going to my trial? I'm going to testify against you so the judge knows exactly what you did and punishes you as you deserve. And after you go your way and I go mine like strangers. I got up from my chair and walked to the door. Dad, wait. I turned one last time. Don't call me Dad anymore, Michael. You don't have a dad anymore. And I walked out of the room without looking back. 3 months later, the day of the trial arrived. The courthouse. It was full of people I didn't know, reporters, onlookers, law students who came to see a family poisoning case. Mr. Frank's family was also there. Lupita, his siblings, and Mr. Frank himself in a wheelchair, because he still couldn't walk well due to the damage from the pentobarbital. I arrived early, dressed in my best suit, the same one I had worn to Susan's funeral. Rose and Jacob accompanied me, sitting in the back benches to support me. The prosecutor, a young but serious man named Mr. Herrera, had explained to me days before that my testimony would be key for Michael to receive the maximum sentence. "Mr. Miller," he had told me in his office, "you are not only the victim, you are also the main witness. Your statement could mean the difference between 10 years and 20 years in prison for your son." "And what's the difference?" I had asked. 10 years if the judge considers there were mitigating circumstances for being family. 20 years if it's proven it was premeditated with malice and advantage. And what do you need to prove that? For you to state clearly that Michael planned everything, that he abused your trust as a son, and that he showed no real remorse. That's exactly what I'm going to state, Mr. Herrera. Now I was there waiting for my name to be called, watching them bring Michael handcuffed into the courtroom. He looked worse than the last time I had seen him at the station. Thinner, paler, more defeated. His lawyer, a fat guy who looked nervous, whispered things in his ear while reviewing some papers. Patricia was also there at the defendant's table along with Dr. Ramirez. She cried silently. The doctor looked at the floor, and Michael kept looking at me, as if hoping that at some point I would smile at him, that I would give him some sign that there was still hope for forgiveness. There wasn't. "The state calls Mr. Aurelio Miller to the stand," announced the court clerk. I stood up and walked to the stand. I placed my right hand on the Bible the clerk extended to me and swore to tell the truth. When I sat in the witness chair, I could look Michael directly in the eyes. For the first time in months, he didn't look away. "Mr. Miller," the prosecutor began, "can you tell us what happened on the morning of March 15th, your birthday?" I told him everything from Michael's arrival with the tequila bottle to Mr. Frank's visit, from Michael's desperate call to the confrontation at his house. I spoke for 40 minutes without stopping, with all the details, all the dates, all the exact conversations. And at any point, the prosecutor asked, "Had you told Michael you wanted to die?" Never ever in my life did I say that to any of my children. "Were you depressed after your wife's death?" I was sad like anyone who loses their partner of 45 years, but sad doesn't mean you want to die. "Had Michael asked you for financial help before trying to poison you?" Never. If he had asked for help, I would have given it to him. That's what fathers are for. The prosecutor continued asking questions for another hour. Questions about Michael's debts, about the plan, about the premeditation, about the escape. I answered everything truthfully, without exaggerating, but also without hiding anything. When it was the defense attorney's turn, he stood up with the face of someone about to give his best performance. "Mr. Miller, is it true that you lived alone and sometimes felt abandoned?" "I lived alone because I wanted to live alone. My children visited me often." "But isn't it true that you sometimes cried over your wife's death?" "Of course I cried. Have you never lost someone important?" "Mr. Miller, don't you consider that Michael acted out of misunderstood love?" I fell silent for a moment, looking at the lawyer, then at Michael, then at the judge. "Sir, let me explain what love is and what it is not. Love is when your son comes to visit you, even when he's tired. Love is when your son asks how you are and genuinely cares about the answer. Love is when your son brings you medicine when you're sick, or accompanies you to the doctor, or sits with you to watch television even if he's bored." I paused to breathe. What Michael did was not love. Michael didn't ask me how I was feeling. Michael decided on his own that I no longer had the right to live. Michael calculated how much money he would make from my death. Michael planned to kill me for weeks without even trying to talk to me. That is not love, sir. That is greed. But don't you feel compassion for Michael? He's your son. He was my son, I corrected him. He's not anymore. And no, I don't feel compassion for him. How can you say that? Do you know why I don't feel compassion for him, sir? Because there's Mr. Frank in a wheelchair, because of Michael. Because Mr. Frank will have lifelong health problems, because of Michael. Because Michael not only wanted to kill me, but he hurt an innocent person. I pointed to where Mr. Frank was sitting. My compassion is with him, not with the criminal who caused all this damage. So there's no possibility of forgiveness. No. Even if Michael repents. Michael had 3 months to show real remorse. All he has done is cry because he got caught. That's not repentance, sir. That's self-pity. The defense attorney kept pushing for another half hour, trying to make me look like a cruel father who wouldn't forgive his son. But I stood my ground. Michael was no longer my son, he was a criminal, and he deserved to pay for what he had done. When I finished testifying, Mr. Frank was helped up to give his testimony. He needed help to walk, his speech was slurred, and his hands trembled. Every word he spoke was further proof of the damage Michael had caused. I was a mechanic, Mr. Frank declared in a broken voice. I worked with my hands. Now I can't even hold a wrench. How am I going to support my family? Michael cried as he listened to Mr. Frank's testimony. But it was too late for tears. Then Patricia and Dr. Ramirez testified. Patricia kept insisting it had been out of love that Michael had told her I was suffering greatly. The doctor confessed everything, but asked for clemency for having cooperated with the justice system. Finally, Michael took the stand. His lawyer had prepared him well. He asked for forgiveness. He said he was sorry, that it had been a terrible mistake, that he had never wanted to hurt Mr. Frank. Your Honor, he said in a trembling voice, I loved my dad very much. I never wanted to hurt him. I just wanted to help him rest. When the prosecutor asked why he had fled, if he was truly sorry, Michael fell silent. Why didn't you face the consequences of your actions like a man? The prosecutor insisted. Why? Because I was scared. Scared of what? Of jail. But you weren't scared of killing your father. Michael couldn't answer that question. In the end, the judge called for a 2-hour recess to deliberate. Rose Jacob and I left the courthouse and went to a nearby diner, but none of us were hungry. We just drank coffee and waited. Do you think he'll get the 20 years? Jacob asked me. I don't know, son, but I hope so. And if he gets less, then we'll appeal. We'll keep fighting until he pays what he owes. Rose took my hand. Dad, do you really not feel anything for Michael anymore? I thought for a moment. It was a good question. I feel sadness for the boy he was. I feel rage for the man he became. But love, no, I don't feel love for him anymore. When we returned to the courthouse, the judge already had the verdict ready. The entire courtroom fell silent as he began to speak. Judge Martinez was an older man with gray hair and thick glasses, the kind who has seen everything in his years on the bench. When he began to read the sentence, his voice was firm and clear without emotion, as justice should be. In the case of the State versus Michael Miller, Patricia Vasquez, and Ramon Ramirez, this court has reached the following conclusions. The silence in the room was absolute. Only the judge's voice and the clicking of the reporters' cameras could be heard. Michael was as pale as a ghost. Patricia cried silently, and Dr. Ramirez stared at his handcuffed hands. First, It is fully demonstrated that the defendants planned and executed an attempted murder against Mr. Aurelio Miller using sodium pentobarbital as a lethal substance. Michael closed his eyes when he heard those words. Second, premeditation is proven by the testimonies and evidence presented, which show that the plan was developed over more than 6 weeks. Third, the economic motive is established by the confessions of the defendants themselves and the financial reports presented by the public ministry. Fourth, malice and advantage are demonstrated by the fact that the defendant Michael Miller abused the filial trust to commit the crime. The judge paused, took off his glasses, cleaned them, and put them back on. Fifth, as an additional aggravating factor, the attempted murder caused serious harm to an innocent third party, Mr. Frank Vasquez, who suffers from permanent neurological damage as a result of the poisoning. Mr. Frank from his wheelchair nodded slightly. Therefore, this court imposes the following sentence. The entire courtroom leaned forward waiting. Michael Miller, guilty of first-degree attempted murder as the intellectual and material author. Sentence 22 years in prison with no possibility of parole before serving 15 effective years. Michael collapsed in his chair. His lawyer put a hand on his shoulder, but he just cried like a child. Patricia Vasquez, guilty of first-degree attempted murder as an accomplice. Sentence 15 years in prison with no possibility of parole before serving 10 effective years. Patricia screamed and slumped over the table. Her relatives, who were in the back benches, also began to cry. Ramon Ramirez, guilty of first-degree attempted murder as an accomplice and for providing specialized information for the commission of the crime. Sentence 12 years in prison with no possibility of parole before serving 8 effective years. The doctor just shook his head as if he had been expecting that sentence. Additionally, the judge continued, the 3 defendants must jointly pay compensation of $500,000 to Mr. Frank Vasquez for the damages caused to his health and work capacity. I sat there processing what I had just heard. 22 years. Michael was 42 years old. When he got out of prison, he would be 64. He would be an old man. And is there anything the defendants wish to say before this session is adjourned? The judge asked. The doctor and Patricia said no. But Michael stood up with tears streaming down his cheeks. Your Honor, I just want to ask my dad for forgiveness and tell him that this was all my fault, that Patricia and the doctor only helped me because I convinced them. The judge looked at him seriously. Mr. Miller, the time for repentance was before committing the crime, not after being sentenced. Michael turned to look at me. Dad, do you forgive me? The whole courtroom fell silent, waiting for my answer. The reporters had their cameras ready. The onlookers craned their necks to get a better view. Even the judge seemed interested in what I was going to say. I rose slowly from my seat. I walked to the front of the courtroom until I was near the defendant's table. Michael looked at me with pleading eyes like when he was a child and had broken something and hoped I wouldn't get angry. Michael, I said, my voice clear so everyone could hear. I raised 3 children, Rose, Jacob, and a boy named Michael. That boy was good, hard-working, respectful. That boy helped me in the workshop, played with me, told me he loved me. I paused. But that boy died 3 months ago when he decided to poison me. The person standing in front of me is not my son. He is a criminal who decided to use my fatherly love to kill me. Michael sobbed. So no, I don't forgive you. Not because I'm cruel, but because forgiveness is for sons, and you are no longer my son. Dad, please. Don't call me Dad anymore. You don't have the right. I turned around and went back to my seat. Michael shouted my name several times, but I didn't. Turn back. The judge banged his gavel. Court is adjourned. The police took Michael, Patricia, and the doctor away in handcuffs. Michael kept shouting my name until he disappeared through the back door of the courtroom. That was the last time I ever saw him. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded me with their microphones and cameras. How do you feel about the sentence? Are you satisfied? Will you ever forgive your son? I feel satisfied because justice was served, I told them. Mr. Frank will receive compensation that will help him with his medical expenses. The criminals will pay for what they did. That's what had to happen. But don't you feel sad for your son? I feel sad for the son I lost 3 months ago. But that young man they took away in handcuffs was not my son. Will you never forgive him? Never. And if he gets out of prison repentant? When he gets out of prison, I'll already be dead. I'm 73 years old. In 22 years, I'll be 95 if I even make it that long. So he won't have a chance to ask for my forgiveness again. A young female reporter asked me, "What would you say to other parents who are going through similar situations?" I thought for a moment. I would tell them that being a parent doesn't mean allowing your children to disrespect you, that a father's love has limits, and that when a son crosses those limits, he ceases to be a son. What are those limits? Any parent knows what those limits are. Trying to kill you definitely crosses them. After the interview, Rose, Jacob, and I went to a quiet restaurant. None of us knew quite how to feel. It was a mixture of relief, sadness, satisfaction, and emptiness. "You're really never going to forgive him?" Rose asked me. "Really? Even if he repents?" "Rose, sweetie, let me explain something. Repentance doesn't erase what was done. Michael can repent all he wants in prison, but Mr. Frank will still be in a wheelchair. Michael can cry for 22 years. But I will still know that my own son wanted to kill me." Jacob nodded. "You're right, Dad. There are some things that can't be forgiven." "Exactly. And this is one of those things." Rose took my hand. "So what happens now?" "Now we get on with our lives. Mr. Frank will have money for his medical treatments. The criminals will be in jail where they belong. And we will be a family of 3, not 4. "Does it hurt?" Rose asked me. "It hurts to have lost the son I thought I had. But it doesn't hurt to have lost the criminal he became." When we got to my house that afternoon, I sat on the patio looking at my tomato plants. It was a beautiful day, sunny but not too hot. I made myself a coffee and sat there thinking about everything that had happened in these 3 months. I had started as a 73-year-old man expecting birthday wishes. Now I was a 73-year-old man who had sent his son to prison for 22 years. Did I regret it? No. I had done the right thing. Sometimes doing the right thing hurts, but it's still the right thing. The phone rang. It was Mr. Frank. "Mr. Miller, I wanted to thank you." "For what, Mr. Frank?" "For having the courage to do what you did. For not letting sentimentality get in the way. For making sure justice was served." "You have nothing to thank me for, Mr. Frank." "Yes, I do. You taught me that family is no excuse for crime, that parents also have the right to defend themselves from their children when necessary." After hanging up, I sat there until nightfall. It was the end of a story that had begun with a bottle of poisoned tequila and ended with 22 years in prison. And for the first time in 3 months, I slept peacefully. A year after the trial, I woke up again on March 15th, my 74th birthday. But this time was different. Rose arrived early with her children. Jacob came with his wife. And even Mr. Frank showed up walking with a cane. But walking. He had improved a lot with the therapy we paid for with the compensation money. We had breakfast on my patio under the shade of the avocado tree I planted 20 years ago. The grandchildren ran among the tomato plants, Mr. Frank chatted with Jacob about cars, and Rose was preparing a cake in the kitchen. It was what a birthday should be, real family sharing good moments. Mr. Miller, Mr. Frank said to me, "Do you know what day it is today?" "My birthday." "Yes, but it's also the day you saved my life." "How did I save your life?" "If you had drunk that tequila instead of giving it to me, you would be dead. But also, if you hadn't had the courage to report Michael, he would have tried to kill you again. You saved both of our lives." It was true.